Guys, I am doing a couple geodes today. I've had a lot of questions about them. There's a lot of tutorials, well, a couple tutorials that are out there right now of geodes, and this is not my design. I believe Heather from Feather Bear Designs came up with her own and then collaborated with someone, or someone else did their own spin on it. Someone can correct me on that information, but my mom wanted me to make her a tumbler so that she could show her friends and see what I'm doing now. I etch glass primarily. I sandblast, and I can make t-shirts. I have a silhouette, so I can do everything, all of the above. But I started doing tumblers about a year ago, and things are going well with them so far. I started with the Aluminite, not sure how to say it, epoxy, because it's been so long that I've used it. Just from Michael's. Hobby Lobby has it too. There's two different kinds of that. There's the FDA approved, the food safe, and then there's I guess a not food safe, not an FDA approved, and you have to make sure that you're getting the one that says FDA approved, because they're pretty easy to mix up. So just read the box before you just grab it off the shelf, get so excited, and then buy it. And then I moved to I don't even think I have it here. I don't know. Someone can comment. Sorry, my house is a wreck and I look like a mess. I'm not feeling very well today, so I don't really care. It's these ones. I can't remember the brand. I stripped the labels off. But anyway, I have switched to the Pro Marine Epoxy brand. I bought the gallon set, I guess, or is it a 2-gallon set? But anyway, I put the pumps in it. So now I no longer have to use the medicine cups to measure my my epoxy out to make sure that I'm getting the same ratio. So in here, I got these off of Amazon. It's a silicone wine glass. I also use silicone, I don't have any over here, muffin cups, I guess. I use those when I'm only doing 1 or 2 cups, but I'm doing a 30 ounce and 3 20 ounces right now. I still have to make a couple more. But my turner is a 4-cup turner, and then I can put a flask on the end of it. And so anyway, I'm gonna be doing this. So I put 2 pumps of part A and 2 pumps of part B in this because I'm doing 4 cups, and again, that's why I'm using the bigger silicone wine glass, and you can find these off of Amazon. I was just using this silicone spatula, got it off of Amazon. But anyway, so I'm going to be doing some geodes. I don't know, I'm going to kind of get a feel for it as I'm going along, but I have Marine by Recollections. I have Marine Chunky by Recollections. Blue Raspberry is a Martha Stewart. I just have a different container that it was in before. I have Teal Chunky by Recollections. It's a really cute color. I'm glad I came across it. I may use this Champagne Silver Chunky from Recollections. turquoise from Martha Stewart. I have Chunky Mixed Mermaid Recollections. It's green and blue. I have Bling Recollections. Glitz Chunky Recollections. I love the shimmer because right now it's pink and white, but on the cup it turns kind of a bluish green, which you can see on this tumbler that I have working on right now. See, it's like a green, not a pink anymore. So it kind of like changes color, which I love. I think that's my favorite Chunky. I also have Gold Recollections, and then I have Crystalline Cobalt. It's the colossal size from Bulk Glitters. It's very similar to the Marine, but the Marine is a little holographic compared to this one. So it just gives it a little bit extra layer looking type deal. So let me get some gloves. Sorry about that. Okay, wrong hand. I had to force myself to get out of bed today because I really wasn't feeling well, so I'm glad that I'm doing this, and I'm glad that I can work from home because this is my only job, which is kind of scary to some people, but you know, I make do. So I am going to start by applying epoxy, a nice layer, to my 20 ounce. I'm gonna probably have to pick it up and dump it on here sooner than later. You know, I think that I really do like the Pro Marine epoxy. I just bought it because I was like, okay, we're gonna try this. We're gonna give it a try, see how I like it. And I might be crazy, but once it's cured, I'm getting a little messy with this right now. Once it's cured, it gets, I like to think that it's just a touch smoother than the other two epoxies that I've used in the past. You can still get bubbles in it. I mean, people are having different experiences with it, different climates, different temperatures and stuff. I still get minor bubbles. Just use a heat gun very briefly on it. Like, don't hold the heat gun on it because it will just kind of make things a little more difficult for yourself. Now, I'm a little different than some people in that I've seen a lot of people working on their cups on a single cup turner, like applying epoxy and such, and then moving it to another turner, or having their cup already on a, I think that's enough epoxy, having their cup on a on their dowel with their football. I still use the pool noodles. I need to switch the foam or to the footballs because the pool noodles are kind of becoming a pain, but I've dealt with it thus far. So anyway, I am going to start probably with this Chunky Champagne to get a little bit of depth. I don't want to start with a fine glitter, and I don't want to end with a fine glitter because the fine glitter tends to kind of overwhelm the chunkiness, which takes a little bit away from the geode, I think, in my opinion. Some people only do geodes in fine glitter, which works just as well. It's preference. It's not right or wrong. I had someone ask me, oh my gosh, I'm kind of afraid to do it because I don't think it'll look right. The good news is these are kind of foolproof if you've been doing tumblers. I'm going to do some Mermaid Chunky. I got these at the Container Store. I think this size was $2.99. I think this size was $1.99. I could be wrong. And then I bought 2 of the spice racks from there as well. The Container Store is great. You can order online too, I think. I haven't done it yet. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is these are kind of foolproof because you can have the, you put the paint on, you spray paint it whatever colors you want. Some people are doing the alcohol inks, which I bought them, but I have not used them yet. So I can't tell you about that per se. But once you have the paint on there and you start getting the paint off to get your geode look, it kind of all just, you don't see everything. So if you have a mistake somewhere, it's not going to be as obvious because it's covered up by paint mostly. Some people do bigger geode spots. I do smaller geode spots. I don't like to do the really, really big sections of geode. I think that when I'm doing it, if you look at pictures of geodes, they're like cut out of a rock. They're typically like a smaller section. It's not even a big geode. It's not, I don't know. But anyway, so this that I'm putting on now, I think this one's so pretty. I'm glad that I found this at Michael's as well. This one is, and these are small chunks right now. I'm gonna add larger flakes in a minute. This is the teal by the Recollections. Again, it's gorgeous. But I do the different sizes. I do fine, I do what's called chunky, but it's not super chunky, and then I do bigger ones to add layers to it, and it turns out very nicely that way. I think it looks a little more natural. I'm gonna do the Crystalline Cobalt by Bulk Glitters again. I just want to reiterate what I'm using. And the nice thing about this is these pieces pretty much lay flat when you're sprinkling them on. This is my key cat. I have dogs too, but they're at my boyfriend's house right now. He's really sweet to let me stay at his place when my parents are in town so that my parents can stay at mine instead of having to pay for a hotel. So they're over there right now, which is kind of nice because I don't have to put up baby gates like some people do and keep their dogs out of the way. And kids. I don't have kids. So I'm not doing full coverage with this right now. I'm building it up. Do not see. It's not full coverage at all. I'll leave this to the side. And now I think I will add this Marine Chunky from Recollections. There we go. And again, this Marine Chunky versus the Bulk Glitters is a little more holographic, so it adds a little bit of a different shine and a different color, so it looks nicely layered. But they're very, very, very similar. You kind of have to like really stare at it to distinguish the differences. just shine a little bit different. See, it's a little scary to do it like this. I like to do it from high up, but see, like it kind of just dumps out like that. It's scary. See, like that. I just got a big section, and I try to avoid that. That's okay. I'm gonna do the Glitz Chunky by Recollections now. This is that pretty, it's almost, I guess, like an opal, sort of. And again, these containers from the Container Store, the holes are big enough to have this chunky come out of it so that you're not doing it in the whole open part like a normal spice jar. See, it's already showing blue instead of pink, which is beautiful. This one almost gives it kind of a scaly look. So if you want like a mermaid cup, but not doing mermaid scales like the typical mermaid scale cup, which I haven't tackled and I don't think I'm going to. I'll let other people do that who have kind of gotten that art down to a science. But this, if you want to do a different kind of mermaid, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a minute, it looks really pretty. Okay. I think that's enough for now. This is kind of what it's hard to see it, I guess, in the video. There's some pink too when you turn it. So this one really changes color in the light, which is gorgeous, especially when you're videotaping your finished product for a customer or something. I'm doing what I don't like to do, but I already did gold. Please don't pay attention to that. I'm gonna do a tiny little bit of bling. I love bling. I use it on everything, pretty much. Only a little bit. Like I don't, and again, holding it away will help disperse it a little bit better. If you're doing like an ombre effect, this is the way to do that, because it's not like close up and trying to think of the word, more confined, I guess, to one space. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go over this one more time with maybe I'll do this, the teal again, this smaller teal chunky, because I can still see some of the cup through here, especially on the edge. So I'll go back over that. There you go. There's my geode. If you give me just a second, I'm going to put this on my turner and I'm going to start another one. So I do 3 layers of tape on each cup, not just one. So once I get it on the turner, and there's always that overlap of epoxy right here on the tape. It gets kind of messy, so I immediately take off that first layer of tape, leaving 2 layers left behind. Let me get another glove on. And then after about 30 minutes on the turner, I take the second layer of tape off. And then after about an hour, hour and a half on the turner, I take off the third piece of tape. So it's not cured when I take them off, because once it cures and you go to take off your tape, usually it ends up just, what are my words? Sorry, I just got distracted. Usually it ends up where there's a piece of tape on your line of epoxy that you then have to use an X-Acto knife to like carefully get the edge off. So I just don't do it like that. Preferences, guys. Everybody has their own preferences. There's no right or wrong way to go about doing this. The epoxy is already starting to heat up, so I'm going to try to that's weird. So I'm going to try to hurry up with these other cups. No 2 Geode cups are the same. They're not going to turn out the same because you can use different glitters for each cup. I just kind of go with for these ones, I'm going with a blue theme. So I don't necessarily have to use the same color for every single cup, or color scheme, I guess, of different kinds of glitter. Like, it's okay if you, if your cups don't turn out perfectly exactly the same as the last one. And that's kind of like the beauty of this one, is if you're doing orders and stuff, no 2 people will have the same cup, which is exciting. Because some of them, people order and they're like, yeah, I want that cup. Like, say you do a striped cup. I do a lot of Virginia Tech themed cups with orange and maroon stripes. So those cups pretty much turn out exactly the same as the last one, which is fun. But sometimes it's fun to have differences. So, gold from up above so that it's not concentrated. Make sure you're getting the top. It will get on your hand. It'll also spread out as you turn it and cover it in epoxy, which is nice too. So I've also done this on a flask, and I'll get that at the end of the video if I can remember to do that. It's been 24 hours in the curing process, so it's not perfect. I'm going to clean it up. I'm also going to do one more layer of epoxy just because it's so uneven right now. So you sand it and then re-epoxy. Before I spray paint, after about a day on the turner, I do leave these on for a day. Some people only leave them on for 3 hours. Preferences. I do have problems with them falling, by the way, with them falling off the turner, but that's typically my 30-ounce cups. And now since I work from home, I can just sit here and babysit my cups, so I'm cool with leaving it all day, and I do leave it overnight. I'm ballsy, I know. What was I saying a minute ago? I don't remember what I was saying. I'm really sorry, guys. Good enough. I'm really trying to hurry. Maybe I should have done the epoxy in 2 parts for these 4 cups. I got an order from my mom's friend for 5 geodes before Thanksgiving, which is, it's fairly easy, but I only have a 4-cup turner. And I have a lot of other orders that I have to do as well that aren't only these geodes. It's so nice. So I live in a metropolitan area. I live near DC. And the traffic here is the absolute worst. And so these people who are going from their corporate jobs, and I know this because I've worked in the corporate world, they're driving home stuck in traffic and they're pissed off and they hate the world because they're doing their normal 9-to-5 job at a desk that they don't necessarily love to do. I was serving this summer for just like 3 weeks and I hated it. I was so happy when they said that my schedule no longer worked with their schedule. I kind of did that on purpose. But now when I sit in traffic, I've been playing with glitter all day. I've been making cool stuff, letting my creative juices flow all day. So when I'm sitting in traffic to go visit my boyfriend, happy as a clam because I've been doing fun stuff all day. I made the jump from serving. I was in a really bad accident, actually, is when it all really started, me working from home and doing Etsy more often. I was in a bad accident in January, February, March, and I was walking dogs and I had a really bad headache from it, and so I decided that I was going to leave my job dog walking, which was a hard decision, but I was in too much pain. It was excruciating. It was terrible. So I took some time off. I went to my doctor's appointments more frequently to make sure that I was doing the right steps. And then finally I was like, okay, I kind of want to get another job. And my parents have been very nice to help me out. I also started back at college. So I was going to serve at a brand new restaurant that was opening in town. Cool. Well, the problem was they didn't really have their act together, which was frustrating because they weren't training anybody. They were just saying, here you go, follow these people around, without telling us who was considered to be a trainer. I don't know. It was a mess. That's all I can say. So I made my schedule kind of unavailable for them, and they caught on. So they said that it wouldn't work out anymore, and I said sayonara. So anyway, as soon as that happened, I decided that I was going to take my little business seriously. I've been doing this for about 3 years. But I wanted to work from home. I wanted to be my own boss. So I started making a whole bunch of stuff, and then putting them on my Instagram page to get a little bit of interest, sharing them with my friends on Facebook, friends and family, and then I wasn't sharing really my glitter tumblers before. I was kind of just keeping them to myself. But then suddenly people sparked an interest in them and they were like, whoa, that's so cool. So now glitter tumblers are kind of taking over my scene. I'm not really etching glass anymore. They're still, of course, available on my Etsy page, but they're just not as popular anymore. People are more interested in these cups, especially the geodes, because they're just really, really cool. So, anyway, kind of my life story. Sorry about that. So, I guess to go with the whole school thing, since I just started back at school. I am 24. And I felt like I was too old to go back to college. I didn't know what I've been to college a couple times. I partied too hard. I just didn't have my head in the game when I was younger. I kind of let some learning disabilities or whatever get in the way of that as kind of excuses. Don't use them as excuses, guys. It doesn't really get you far. So anyway, now I know what I want to do. I want to farm. I know that I'm not going to be rich being a farmer, and a lot of people have been like, oh, well, you know, that's going to be a really hard life. You can't take vacation and this, that, and the other. I've traveled the world already. I've already been all over the world. Of course, I would love to travel some more, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on a whole lot, which is why I'm okay with this. And plus, again, being a farmer, I plan to be my own boss. So, I don't really have to worry about being too upset with my job. Now, I know that farming is not easy. I'm not, putting it down in any way. For some, it's harder than others, financially, because they have to buy livestock and such. We'll see where I go. I'm just putting my foot in the door right now. I'm not an expert, but at all. All I have are chickens, and we had ducks before. But I'm not sure what I want to do in the farming industry. But while I do that, I can also keep crafting on the side, which is where I'm going with this. I know a lot of people are like, is there money to be made in crafting? Is it really a good idea to do that? I love it. I've been crafting my entire life. It's just my thing. People have known me to craft. So, anyway, I'm almost done with this one. I wanted to go live with this, but I'm a little nervous to do that. But it would be, the only reason I do want to do live is because I kind of want to get some questions that maybe I could answer, or problems I might be able to distinguish before it's an issue for people. I'm not an expert. I am not on the level of admins on groups. They have a little bit more expertise. I'm only doing this because I'm only doing this video because I've had a lot of personal questions asked about this process, and I figured that I would answer some of them. I don't want to get too crazy with this green because then it looks mermaidy, but this one looks really pretty. This is going to be a beautiful geode cup. I guess it's kind of hard to see again, but the greens, it really changes color. So I'm going to go put this on. I'm going to take off that first layer of tape, and I'll be back in just a second. Sometimes you do have to be careful when you're taking off your tape because it will grab onto the last piece of tape and kind of go from there. But just make sure that you're holding down that second layer if it does start to pop up a little bit. Sorry, I need to get some more gloves. I think I'm gonna do the 30 ounce. I need to do the 30 ounce today. I guess I'll do that. I hope it doesn't fall off the turner, but I have time to sit and be with it. It's not even 2 o'clock yet. Traffic here starts at about 3, so I like to, if I'm gonna be out of my house and headed to my boyfriend's house, because he lives in Maryland, I'm in Virginia. If I want to go over the bridge to Maryland, traffic starts at about 3 o'clock on the dot. So today I do want to be out of here a little early. It's Friday. I don't like to work on weekends if I can help it. Sometimes I have to, which is fine because it's crafting. It's kind of therapeutic. But his friend is coming to town this weekend to help him finish the renovations on his guest bathroom. My parents are in town. My aunt and uncle are in town. It's my grandmother's 94th birthday on the 24th. And so today's Friday. Tomorrow night we're having her birthday dinner. And oh, by the way, I was adopted when I was 3 months old. And I've always been on a quest to find my birth parents. And I found my dad. Well, I found my mom too, but there's not going to be a relationship there. That's okay. But anyway, I found my dad, and I found him August 22nd, the day after my birthday last year. And we finally got to meet a year ago in 2 days. I just saw the on this day thing or whatever that I posted today. I get to meet my dad in 2 days. So it was really, really cool. He didn't know that I existed. So it was like, I know it's hard for him, but he took it like a champ. So anyway, he is going to be here. It's my grandmother's 94th birthday dinner this weekend, just like last year for her 93rd. My dad got to be included in that. So it's a really cool time this weekend. So it's really exciting that he's coming to town to visit and that he wants to have that dinner again with us. But yeah, so we've got a lot of people here in town this weekend. We were at a wedding last week in North Carolina, so we got to kind of relax the calm before the storm. My parents come to town often. They live in Florida. But they just want to make sure I haven't burnt my condo down. And they visit with my grandmother. Spend some time with her, make sure all of her medical needs are taken care of and up to date. She's doing very well. She's fallen 3 times this year, which has been very stressful. That's very much unlike her. She's 94 though. So she's for her age, she's doing fantastic. I couldn't ask for more love and support for her. So I'm just happy to have everybody in town. I love family, especially now that I have my biological father and my adoptive family. And people ask me, the most common question I get is, wait, your dad or your stepdad? Okay, well, he's not my stepdad. Like, it's hard for me to distinguish because I have 2 dads. I have my adoptive dad, which is my dad, and I have my birth father, which is my dad. And I understand why people get confused when I say that, but it does get a little, sometimes I do get a little upset just because they're trying to decide who's dad and who's not, and they're both my fathers. And my dad's always been very, very, very supportive of me trying to find my family. He used to write notes to the adoption agency for me when I couldn't quite spell well, or he wrote a petition. He helped me write my petition to the court to try to unseal my records and find my parents, which was unsuccessful. But I did DNA. That's not how I found my parents, though. my mom's second cousin, so my adoptive mom's second cousin, did all the research for me. This is like his thing. He loves doing DNA, ancestry, things like that. And he found us, and he said, hey, let's find your mom. Okay, we're doing this. So that was last May or June. May. He found my mom in June, I believe. He may have started earlier than that. My timing could be off. But he found my mom. I wrote her an email. I added some pictures of me growing up in it, which yielded no information. She didn't respond back, but her Facebook, I found her on Facebook. Her Facebook went pretty dark. It's not blocked, but I know that she saw it, and people, being optimistic as they are, said, oh, maybe she didn't get the email. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I said, no, I know that she got the email. Like, I just know. So, since we didn't get a response, we just, we waited until my birthday. That was in May or June, like early June, that we found her and wrote that letter. So we waited till my birthday, August 21st. We still had not heard anything, and I was in Florida at the time for my birthday with my parents and my mom's second cousin. And we were all sitting at my parents' kitchen table. We had a Lazy Susan in the middle, and we had a laptop. And we just had like Microsoft Word or whatever open. And we had my dad call my biological grandfather, because my mom's second cousin is a genius, and finding information like that is like very easy for him. So my dad called. Come to find out, my biological grandfather went to Virginia Tech at the same time that my dad did, and my grandfather was 2 years behind my dad. So my dad was 2 years older. And my dad first made the phone call as an alumni connection, because they were in the Corps of Cadets together, just in different squadrons. So I don't think they ran into each other. They may have, but I don't know. I don't know how the Corps of Cadets works quite. But my grandfather was like, oh, that's so cool. And my dad said, oh, by the way, we're celebrating a birthday today. And he said, oh, happy birthday. But we weren't on speakerphone. We didn't hear this conversation. My dad relayed the conversation to us via typing on the computer and passing it around, or finishing the conversation off of the phone with us, letting us know how it went. But we could kind of tell what was happening as well, because, well, it's kind of easy to tell in this kind of situation. So anyway, my grandfather was like, oh, happy birthday. And my dad said, actually, it's your granddaughter's birthday. And my dad got choked up. My dad doesn't cry, so then I started getting all choked up. But again, we weren't on speakerphone, so we weren't being loud. We didn't want to make him feel like he was being bombarded by people in case he wanted privacy. And so anyway, my dad said, oh, you guys, if you guys are interested in meeting her, she would love to meet you. Even if we don't tell, I almost said her name, even if we don't tell your daughter, my mom, that we're meeting up, we can keep it a secret, or however it should be done, because we didn't know the situation. We didn't know the circumstances behind my adoption. So he said, oh my God, I think about her all the time. I would love to meet her. He said, let me talk to my wife. Her godfather is actually here visiting, and he doesn't know that she was pregnant. So that's another story, but he asked the wife, and she said, no, get off the phone right now. Don't ever contact them again. So here we are. But, I can't be upset with them, because I do know now, since I've met my birth father, we pieced all the stories together, and my adoption papers and this, that, and the other. we've kind of pieced everything together, and we know the whole story now as to why she put me up for adoption. And it's a very personal story, that we understand that she's probably afraid of getting into any trouble, or her family doesn't know that I exist. They don't know that she was pregnant. Her brother, her husband, her kids. So anyway, my mom was a crafter. I share a lot of traits with her. I also am big into Jeeps, and my parents hate Jeeps. Turns out my birth father is on Jeep number 6 or 7, I think. And I've had a couple Jeeps as well, like more than 2. So, it's really cool how things get passed down. My mom farms, and that's what I'm very interested in doing, even before I knew that. I was going to homestead, but I left my ex and moved back to Virginia, and I had to put that dream on hold. It's life. That's what happens. Sometimes you have to wait. So I'm really excited to be going to college to do that. But anyway, that's the gist of my adoption story. My dad was 15 when I was conceived, I guess. He was very young, which is why he didn't know that I existed. She didn't tell him. She was a little bit older. But yeah, so I have a great relationship with my dad. And he has 2 daughters. And me. So even though I don't get to know my mom's kids, that's a daughter and 2 sons, that's okay. It's okay. It's I have my dad, and I'm very much at peace with that. Some days are hard, some days are easy. Most days are easy, but some days I do get a little bit emotional and upset with the fact that it's kind of like an abandonment thing, but I can't be selfish. I have had a wonderful life. So sorry that this Geode tumbler session has turned into my adoption story and whatever. All about me. But after a long video, I think that, I don't know, I just figured I would talk about myself, explain to you who I am. So anyway, I hope that this turns into a big business, my crafting. I hope that I can have a storefront one day. That would be the ideal situation, the hopeful outcome. But we'll see. I might only do online stuff. I don't know where we'll go from here. But anyway, this video has been long enough. I'm gonna finish my 20 ounce on my own, just because you guys have been watching for so long. I'm gonna add this glitz chunky on this, and then I'm gonna put it on the turner. My boyfriend made my turner for me, so I wish that I could answer turner questions, but he was such a sweetheart to do that. He saw that I was hand turning them, like on my hand. Some people made their own contraptions with broomsticks and such. I didn't. I literally turned it by hand, so if I had to go to the bathroom or if I ordered food, I was kind of out of luck for a little bit. So he was really nice to do that, and now I can do a couple cups at a time, and I would like to do more than that. I would like to get a more industrial sized turner very soon, because I'm starting to pick up on orders on these cups, and it's becoming like my primary selling item. So anyway, here's my 30 ounce. I am sorry for the rants, but there it is. And I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, I would be happy to ask to the best of my knowledge, or I can direct you to kind of the queens of this operation. But anyway, there you have it. Just again, let me know if you have any other questions, and I hope this video is helpful.